There's a number sitting in a government database right now with your name on it. And depending on when you decide to unlock it, that number could be worth over $100,000 more or less. Most Americans never check it. Most Americans don't even know it exists until they're staring retirement in the face, making a decision they can never take back. Here's the strange part. Social Security feels simple on the surface. You work, you pay into it, and one day you start collecting checks. But underneath that simple idea is one of the most misunderstood financial decisions in American life. And the age you choose to claim it can quietly become the difference between a comfortable retirement and a stressful one. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how Social Security really works, why the claim as early as possible instinct is costing people a fortune, and what the smartest move actually looks like depending on your situation. Stick around, because the ending covers a mistake that nearly 40% of retirees make, and most of them regret it within 5 years. Let's start with the basics, because even here, most people get it wrong. Social Security is not a savings account. There is no personal pot of money sitting somewhere with your name on it, growing interest. It's a pay-as-you-go system. The money coming out of your paycheck today is going straight to someone who is retired right now. When you retire, the workers of that generation will fund your checks. It's a chain, not a vault. You become eligible for benefits after earning what the system calls credits, which basically means working and paying Social Security taxes for about 10 years total. Once you qualify, the government calculates your benefit using your highest 35 years of earnings. This number becomes your baseline, officially called your primary insurance amount. But here's where things get interesting. That baseline number only applies if you claim at your full retirement age. And full retirement age isn't 65 anymore, like a lot of people assume. For most people working today, it's 67. That single misunderstanding alone causes millions of Americans to make decisions based on outdated information their parents gave them. So now we get to the real question, the one this entire video is built around. When should you actually claim it? The earliest possible age is 62, and it is, by far, the most popular choice. Roughly a third of Americans start collecting the moment they turn 62, sometimes years before they've even finished working. Why? It feels like free money sitting there, waiting. After decades of paying into the system, there's a very human urge to grab it the second it becomes available. There's also fear involved. Fear that Social Security might run out. Fear that you might not live long enough to enjoy it later. That fear is powerful, and it drives a huge percentage of early claims. But here's the hidden truth almost nobody explains clearly. Claiming at 62 doesn't just give you money early. It permanently reduces your monthly benefit. Not temporarily, permanently, for the rest of your life. If your full retirement age is 67 and you claim at 62, your monthly check isn't reduced by a small amount. It's reduced by roughly 30%. Forever. Let's make that real with numbers. Say your full benefit at 67 would be $2,000 a month. Claim at 62 instead, and that check drops to around $1,400 a month. That's a difference of $600 every single month for the rest of your life. Over 20 years of retirement, that's roughly $144,000 you never see. This is the mistake that quietly wrecks retirements. Not overspending, not bad investments, just claiming too early because it felt safer in the moment. But before you assume waiting is always the answer, there's more to this story, because the opposite choice comes with its own risk. On the far end, you can delay claiming all the way until age 70. And for every year you wait past your full retirement age, your benefit grows by about 8%. That's a guaranteed increase, government-backed, with no market risk attached. To put that in perspective, there is no investment on Wall Street that guarantees an 8% annual return with zero risk. Delaying Social Security is one of the only places in personal finance where that actually exists. Using our same example, that $2,000 benefit at 67 could grow to roughly $2,400 a month if you wait until 70. That's $400 extra every month for as long as you live. So why doesn't everyone just wait until 70? Because here's the catch nobody likes to talk about. You're betting on your own lifespan. If you claim early at 62, You get smaller checks, but you get more of them starting sooner. If you wait until 70, you get bigger checks, but you get fewer of them if you don't live as long. There's actually a break-even point in this math, and for most people, it lands somewhere around age 80 to 83. If you live past that point, waiting wins. If you don't, claiming early would have gotten you more total money. This is where Social Security stops being a simple government check and starts becoming a real financial decision, one tangled up with health, family history, and how long you honestly expect to live. Most people don't realize that this decision isn't really about age at all. It's about risk. Claiming early protects you against the risk of dying too soon and losing money you never collected. Waiting protects you against the opposite risk, running out of money because you lived longer than expected and your savings didn't stretch far enough. Both are real risks. The question is, which one scares you more? Let's bring in a real historical example to make this less abstract. Back in the 1980s and 90s, financial researchers studied retirees who claimed early versus those who waited, and the pattern that emerged surprised a lot of economists. People who claimed early often reported feeling financially secure in their 60s. But by their late 70s and 80s, many of those same retirees were struggling. Their smaller checks hadn't kept up with rising costs, medical expenses had increased, and inflation had quietly eaten away at their fixed income for over a decade. Meanwhile, retirees who delayed claiming, especially those who had other income sources to lean on in their 60s, often described their 70s and 80s as the most financially stable years of their retirement. Their larger, delayed benefit acted almost like insurance against living a long life. This reveals something most people never consider. Social Security isn't just retirement income. For a lot of Americans, it functions as longevity insurance, a guaranteed check that can't run out, no matter how long you live, no matter what the stock market does. But this is where things get interesting, because it's not actually a solo decision for everyone. If you're married, the math gets even more layered. Spousal benefits allow a lower-earning spouse to claim based on their partner's work record instead of their own, if that number is higher. And survivor benefits mean that when one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse can step into whichever benefit is larger. This changes the entire strategy for married couples. Here's a real pattern financial planners see often. If one spouse earns significantly more than the other, it often makes sense for the higher earner to delay claiming as long as possible, even until 70. Why? Because that higher, delayed benefit doesn't just protect them. It becomes the survivor benefit for their spouse if they pass away first. Delaying isn't just boosting one check. In a marriage, it can be boosting the financial safety net for two people, potentially for decades. This is a detail almost nobody explains clearly, and it's one of the biggest missed opportunities in retirement planning for couples. Now here's the biggest mistake that comes next, the one nearly 40% of Americans make without realizing the true cost. They claim at 62, not because they've run the numbers, but because they're afraid Social Security won't be there later. Headlines about the program running out of money have circulated for years, and that fear pushes people to grab benefits early, just in case. Let's clear this up directly, because the fear is understandable, but the full picture matters. Social Security's trust fund reserves are projected to face a shortfall in the future if Congress doesn't make changes. But that doesn't mean the program disappears. Even in the most pessimistic projections, the ongoing payroll taxes coming from current workers would still fund a significant majority of promised benefits. It would likely mean reduced payments, not zero payments. And historically, Congress has adjusted the program multiple times before through tax changes and age adjustments, specifically to keep it solvent. Making a permanent, decades-long financial decision based on worst-case headlines, without checking your own numbers, is exactly the kind of fear-based choice that costs people real money. So what should the average American actually do? There's no single universal answer, and anyone who tells you there is one specific best age for everyone is oversimplifying a genuinely personal decision. But there is a smarter way to think about it than most people use. Start with your health and family history. If you have a family history of shorter lifespans or existing health conditions, claiming earlier can genuinely make sense, because the break-even math may never favor waiting for you personally. Next, look at your other income. If you have savings, a pension, or part-time income that can cover your expenses in your 60s, delaying Social Security to let that 8% annual growth compound can be one of the most powerful moves in your entire retirement plan. Then consider your marital status. If you're the higher earner in a marriage, delaying doesn't just help you, it protects your spouse's future income too. And finally, be honest about how long you're likely to work. Continuing to work while claiming early can actually reduce your benefit further, due to earnings limits before full retirement age. This is a detail that surprises a lot of early claimants who assumed they could work and collect freely. Most people don't realize Social Security isn't a single choice you make once and forget. It's a strategy, one that should be looked at the same way you'd look at any major financial decision, with real numbers, not gut feelings. There's also a simple tool almost nobody uses. The Social Security Administration provides free, personalized statements showing your estimated benefits at 62, at full retirement age, and at 70, based on your actual earnings record. Most Americans have never looked at their own number. They're making a $100,000 decision blind, when the actual data is sitting right there, free, waiting to be checked. However, there is one problem nobody talks about enough. Even with perfect information, this decision gets emotional. It's tied to identity, to the feeling of finally being done working, to fear of the unknown. Numbers can guide you, but the decision still has to fit your actual life, not just a spreadsheet. So let's bring this all together. Social Security was never designed to be your entire retirement plan. It was built as one layer of support, meant to work alongside personal savings and other income. But how and when you claim it can add or subtract hundreds of thousands of dollars from your total lifetime income, depending on choices most people make in a matter of minutes, often based on fear rather than facts. Claiming at 62 feels safe in the moment, but it locks in a permanently reduced check for the rest of your life. Waiting until 70 comes with real, guaranteed growth, but it requires patience, financial flexibility, and a level of trust in your own longevity. And if you're married, this decision ripples out to affect someone else's financial security too, not just your own. The real lesson isn't claim early or claim late. The real lesson is this: don't let fear make this decision for you. Check your actual numbers. Understand your health, your finances, and your family situation. And then choose deliberately, not out of panic. Because the people who end up financially secure in their 80s usually aren't the ones who got lucky. They're the ones who took the time, decades earlier, to actually understand how this system works, instead of guessing. If this video helped you understand Social Security a little more clearly, that's exactly what this channel is here for. Subscribe for more videos about money, investing, and building wealth.